The county wants to recover the costs of responding to that fire, and Ryan is asking a court to review the company's emergency plan. Arkema is far from the only chemical plant in our area that faced a crisis during Harvey. Channel 2 Investigates discovered millions of pounds of contaminants were released into the air during and for weeks after the storm. Investigator Mario Diaz reveals the staggering numbers and the potential health impacts.
One month ago, Houston was in survival mode, inundated with water.
There's a car trapped in the lake. All of the roads are completely impassable. Our son is missing.
Once every bass boat came back to dry land, every chopper back to earth. Every return of a loved one sealed with a hug. The focus transitioned to assessing the damage. One area impacted is mostly invisible to the eye.
Sí sentimos mucho el olor como a petróleo, sí. Fuerte, sí.
Cesario Torres says he and his wife smelled a strong gaseous odor in the shadows of Valero's Houston refinery in the east side neighborhood of Manchester.
El olor me estaba pegando a mí.
What was hitting the 67-year-old and others in Manchester for nearly 20 days, according to the Texas Commission of Environmental Quality, was unknown until Valero's report was finalized last week. More than 230,000 pounds of contaminants were released, a variety of chemicals, some of which cause short and long-term health problems, including eye and throat irritation, liver and kidney damage, and cancer.
There were going to be massive environmental impacts no matter what, just because this was such a huge storm.
Brian Zobchek is with Environment Texas. Since the storm, his Austin-based organization poured through governmental records. Channel 2 Investigates also reviewed many of the same documents, self-reported emissions by local chemical companies. They revealed nearly 2 million pounds of air pollution released into the environment around Houston from August 25th to September 14th through spills or emissions, commonly known as flares. Those releases equal roughly 39% of the unauthorized emissions for the entire Houston area in all of 2016, according to Environment Texas.
We were extremely busy in the first couple of weeks after Harvey.
Once Bakia Nelson with Airlines Houston started getting calls about a foul smell in Manchester, she brought in Entanglement Technologies from California.
We wanted to capture our own data.
The team worked side by side with City of Houston officials.
The numbers told us initially that levels of benzene were extremely high in the Manchester community, and so when we took our private monitor out there, we found this similar results.
This picture from Google Earth, dated August 30th, shows the scene. The top of a partially collapsed tank at the Valero complex. The black area around it appears to be oil surrounded by temporary booms. A Valero official confirmed a crude oil leak, but says it was contained.
Me puede preocupar eso por mí y por mis hijos también, que todos viven aquí en esta área.
Cesario Torres says what happened in his neighborhood concerns him and his family. And while some toxic emissions might have been inevitable in a storm as big as Harvey, bigger questions remain. What can be learned and what can be done in the future to minimize the impact?
I think it's an opportunity for all of us within the community to really sit down and look at what are the regulations that are needed that could prevent this in the future.
We did get a response from Valero about the contamination in Manchester. It reads in part, quote, "We have kept the federal, state, and local agencies fully informed throughout the duration of the response. Valero takes the welfare of the communities surrounding our facilities very seriously. We worked very hard throughout this unprecedented hurricane to protect our employees, our communities, and the environment." Now, you can read the entire statement and explanation of how the contamination occurred in the Investigate section of click2houston.com.
Mario, at the end of your report, we heard the woman talk about prevention. Is there any way really to prevent these kind of releases during a storm like this?
There are a few ways, and they'll tell you about it. One of them specifically, flare gas recovery systems. That's one of the suggestions that we received early on from a couple of people on one hand, saying that, you know, you can put this equipment in there and can help cut down. The other thing they say is to have these shutdowns take place much sooner. However, one executive we spoke to on the chemical side said that causes a danger because that is one of the most dangerous times throughout a plant operations, shutting them down quickly, bringing them back up quickly.